So for my sustainable development goals, exercise two, I just talked about the goal number one, which is poverty or having no poverty. And then I also will talk about how it applies to the country that we chose for our study abroad trip, which is Germany. So starting off, I just wanted to provide some facts about how prevalent poverty is in the world. The poverty line globally is $2.15 per day, and that's not any one currency. That's just your average currency to make up for the different values. 9.3% of the global population lives in poverty currently, and right now that number is 700 million people. This number has increased by 70 million since when COVID started. And here's two maps of just global poverty. On the left, you have one that shows extreme poverty as of 2019. And you can see that most of the developed countries are not too bad off, such as the US is in that 0 to 3% range for extreme poverty. This is. Um, but then once you look at the right side, it's the population or the share of the population that lives below the national poverty line as of 2020. There's no data available for the US when they did this study, as well as some other countries such as Australia. However, it shows you that a lot of people are living below the poverty line all across the country, regardless of where you are. So, Germany and poverty. Although Germany has had a few spikes with COVID, less than 3% of their population are currently living in extreme poverty. As of 2020, almost 16% of the German population lives below the global poverty line. And as of 2017, Germany has made programs and taken steps to address poverty, such as increasing allowances for housing, children, and help to return to the labor market for the long term unemployed. They are leading the way, and they've helped start the fight against poverty. And I think a lot of other countries can definitely follow in their footsteps as far as it goes for providing and trying to get these unemployed returned back to the labor market. So here are two maps again, but these are focusing on just Germany. So in the first one, you have that extreme poverty line, and you can see those two spikes that I talked about. The most recent one is when COVID struck. Um, but then once you start looking at the actual whole population that's living below the national poverty line, not just in extreme poverty, you see that about 16% of Germans are below that poverty line. So, poverty and the next generation. Most of us don't know, I did not know until doing this research, that children born in extreme poverty are less likely to reach their fifth birthday than those who are not. A lack of resources due to poverty can also lead to slower development, and it is also proven that problems revolved around poverty, such as hunger and thirst, can lead to lower focus and slower learning, which can stunt education in our society. So it's a very important issue that we need to start addressing sooner rather than later. So here is that statistic for children born in extreme poverty, less likely to reach their fifth birthday. You can see that as you move away from that zero mark, which is what you want people to or kids to be making their fifth birthday. But as you go away from that zero mark, the countries start to spread out, and you start to see the less developed countries that have more poverty in them. And here is where Germany lies. So they're really good as far as having extreme poverty with children being involved in it. They're don't have many people or many kids involved in extreme poverty, and only 3.8 out of every thousand are not making their fifth birthday, and that is not from extreme poverty. Lastly, we had to use the XMindTool website to create another um, map for showing how we would address the issue. So using global information technologies to address poverty, which is the first sustainable development goal, I split it into four main sections, this being economy, education and awareness, sustainability, and supply and demand. So, starting with the economy, I want to look at, or I think we could use global IT to look at how to strengthen and build economies in poverty stricken areas, whether this be bringing tourism in or other sorts of capital. How can we make an economy around these poverty stricken areas to help them grow and flourish? Next, I wanted to talk about education and awareness. How can we bring more awareness to the problem of poverty on a global scale? And how can we educate societies with ways to sustainably combat poverty? By raising awareness and all that, I would honestly just help with that other bubble economy, help bring tourism in and showing that these poverty stricken areas are still beautiful and still need to be taken care of, as well as the people. For sustainability, I just wanted to identify what those basic needs are that are required for life, and then how to source those resources for those who are in need and who are struggling in extreme poverty, because we need to provide for them if they can't provide for themselves. Lastly, the supply and demand kind of goes with sustainability, but as far as food and water access, just having those, knowing how much you need and where it needs to go, is a big part of getting these people back into society and getting them back into the workforce to better society as a whole.